Okay, and we're recording. So hello, everyone. My name is Thomas Young, and I'm the Creative Project Manager for the National Consortium for Creative Placemaking. We are a nonprofit. We're based in Union, New Jersey, and we build the connections, capacity, and community with leaders in creative placemaking across the country, like yourselves here on this call. In New Jersey, we provide technical assistance, we provide workshops, strategic conversations, and we encourage more effective and more robust creative placemaking programs across the state. But on our national side, we provide programs in the Creative Placemaking Leadership Summit series, which you are all here to learn about today. So one of my primary jobs is to organize the content and the programming for these summits. And so what I'm actually going to be able to do right now, I hope, is screen share. Just give me 2 seconds on that. Let's see, let's share this. And we're gonna, 1 second, folks. Great. Hope we all can see that. Is that visible? Maybe a thumbs up, Angie? Great, thank you. You're the only visual person right now with your camera, so it's good to see that. Thanks. So again, this is how to host a summit. So this is our informational webinar today. I hope you're all here because you're interested in hosting or know of someone in your city or a city nearby that's interested in hosting our summits in 2019. Basically today we're going to go through what the Creative Placemaking Leadership Summits are, in addition to how the structures typically go, and then what we're looking for in a host city in addition to some other things. I see someone, oops, is trying to, in the chat right now. I don't see a screen, just 2 people. Let me see if I can try to make this work. I'm sorry about that, whoever that is. It's a really tricky, oops. Let's see, is that visible to you, Susan? 1 second, folks, I'm sorry about that. Let's see, screen share. Go into this, and how about that? Does that work for you? I hope. You may need to play with your settings on your end. Oh, it works for you, perfect, thank you. Sorry about that. Let me see if I can. Sorry, folks. Thank you all so much for being patient. I appreciate it. Oh, shucks. You know, you can't even see what's going on my end. Just give me 2 seconds, folks. Great. So the Creative Placemaking Leadership Summit started about 3 years ago. They're sort of they started as an informal knowledge exchange for folks around New Jersey and New York to kind of get together and learn tactics and tips from each other about the field of creative placemaking. And over the years, it grew into a leadership summit. With the help of an Our Town grant from the NEA and support of our friends from Art Place America, we were able to expand the summits beyond New Jersey in 2018. This year alone, in 2018, in this 2018 season, we went to Chattanooga, Tennessee in March, which was super fun for our Southeastern Summit. We went to Denver, Colorado for our Southwestern Rocky Mountain Summit. Went to Madison, New Jersey, Drew University for our Northeastern Corridor Summit, and Charleston, West Virginia for our Appalachian Summit recently, which was super fun. That was a great chance for us to go visit some folks out in West Virginia. So each of these regional summits have varied in content, participants, and obviously in regions and states served. We're currently developing our national summit to take place in DC in early October as a summary of these regional summits. This is going to take a much broader look at creative placemaking in hopes of creating local impact around the country around this national dialogue. And we do hope to see you all at that national summit in College Park, Maryland at the University of Maryland. And there's more information about that summit on our website. So next year, we are expanding our summits to fit all 50 states, which is really, really exciting. And Washington, D.C., of course. We plan on consolidating the Southeast and Appalachian regions into one summit called the Southeast entirely. We're transforming the Southwest Rocky Mountain region into what we're calling the West. And finally, we're creating a Midwest and a Pacific region summits. So we have 5 total regional summits and again, a national summit, which is really exciting. We're spanning these over different parts of 2019. We're going to start with the West Summit in February, the Pacific Summit in March, the Southeastern Summit in April, the Northeast Summit in June, the Midwest Summit in September, and the National Summit in November. And that's all written down in the location that I'll show you all in just a bit. Just wanted to start quickly, or continue quickly before we jump into more about how the summits run. Just wanted to talk a little bit about our values for the CPL Summits. So the Creative Placemaking Leadership Summits, we value the input and stories of all people from across the country and even the world. We have some folks from Australia and Canada coming to visit some of our summits, and hopefully more in the future. These summits are a place where all types of people from different backgrounds, disciplines, and religions of the country can come together and learn from each other's experiences in the development, execution, and analysis of creative placemaking. We believe that no one knows everything, but everyone knows something, and that something is worth bringing to the table. So, as we learn from our summits, we're evolving the experience to be as useful, engaging, and fun for every attendee. For the National Summit, we plan on creating a much more tailored program for different people who have varied experience levels in the field, and we hope that this new sort of framework for the 3-day summit will continue on for next year's, and I'll explain a little bit what that's going to look like. If you've attended one of our summits this year, thank you so much for coming. Next year, they're hopefully going to be a little bit better and different for the betterment of learning and engaging in networking. We plan on creating more moments for collision of ideas and an overarching narrative of this 3-day retreat. And as such, the sessions need to be reflective of these attendee-centered ideals and experiences. And so we do put out an RFP for sessions, and as a planning committee, we sort of tailor a program that's suitable for that region for that year. So this is just a quick little chart about how this 3-day program typically is going to look. It'll likely take place over 3 days of the work week. We're kind of going back and forth whether it should be a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, or a Friday, Saturday, Sunday, or which day most people actually attend, and we're getting some data in on what people actually prefer. They'd likely start in the afternoon on the first day, which would take place which would end in some type of social event. So you can see there's some kind of pre-summit thing happening in the morning, registration in the afternoon, evening, and a social event in the later parts of the night at about 7 o'clock. We believe this is really important to not only get people to network and socialize, but also to get to show off the town that it's that's hosting. And so this is something that we're going to talk about in just a little bit about the host committee and their role in these summits. You'll notice that the second day would be a full day, ending in another social event of some capacity, maybe with some sort of guest speaker or some kind of entertainment that would be really fun and drawing for people. And the last day would end before lunch, including some post-summit excursions with the neighboring communities. And this third day is really important. We're starting to develop what we're calling a community day. So with a really low price point, inviting community members, artists, local officials to come together to think about the challenges of that host city and how the summit can be used to better its surroundings through creative placemaking tactics. So that's a day that we can actually implement what we've been learning over the last 2 days in that community. So it's another really good reason why it would be great for folks to host our summits. It's not just for bragging rights and getting people to see your city, but also can actually have a really good impact on it as well. Just so everyone's aware, we have different breakout session types. We have what we're called seminars, which are basically panel discussions and presentations. These attempt to answer the what of creative placemaking in a very general sense. We have workshops, which are smaller, more intimate sessions that attempt to answer the how of creative placemaking. And these may teach tips and tools that folks can use in their own work. We have what we're now calling peer exchanges, which is sort of a new introduction. These are designed for more experienced creative placemakers. They pose questions rather than answering them, and likely an attempt to unlock sort of the why of creative placemaking. So they'll have clear deliverables after brainstorming and discussing fellow leaders, and again, posing questions rather than sort of trying to answer them, right? Like, how do we solve gentrification in this area? How do we better communicate with local officials? Things like that. And then what we have is field workshops, which I hope the folks on this webinar are actually interested in, which are post-summit excursions that attempt to tackle neighborhood challenges using creative solutions with summit attendees. And these include maybe a trip to a neighborhood to see creative placemaking in action, and maybe even places that could use positively where creative placemaking could be used to positively impact its community. And so it's not just field trips, it's an opportunity for a bunch of different voices to get together and sort of brainstorm charrettes and ideas about how to better a community through creative placemaking within that host city or area surrounding it. So when proposing for this host city, this is I hate doing long slides with a bunch of information on it, and this information is on our survey. So if everyone's scrupulously taking notes, don't sweat it. I promise this is somewhere else. But just to kind of go through what the actual requirements of the city are for a summit our size. So we're looking for some sort of plenary, like a venue that has, right, a plenary space that accommodates up to 400 people. We do typically have between 230 and 350 people at any given summit this year, and we're hoping to expand it to probably no more than about 400, but that's a good maximum number to be safe. This building that it needs to take place in should be either a building or a set of closely located buildings which can provide up to 7 breakout rooms. That's to allow for all those really sort of intimate conversations to happen in between the plenary sessions. Obviously, AV capability, audio-visual capability, and technical assistance personnel included. This is getting really nitty-gritty, but you can tell that we've had some situations around our summits where we really, really needed this stuff to happen, and we're making sure that each of these locations can accommodate. Teams for cleanup and setup, security to watch the rooms overnight. We are recommending that the place that is submitted is some kind of hotel or conference center, or you can even do things like we've had places in museums or art centers or performing arts centers or things like that, even aquariums if you're getting really excited about it. We found places like universities are really tricky to work with, but it doesn't mean they're out of the question. But we do prefer things like hotels that already have staff on hand. If it's not a hotel, it's required that a hotel is within a quarter mile of the conference itself, ideally with complimentary shuttles to the meeting venue. It's preferred to, again, like I said, it's preferred that these are hotels or conference centers if possible. But it's also nice to have them nearby an active downtown and arts district, especially with those networking social events. It's really fun to have. We've had social events in anywhere from really cool bars to beautiful museums and art gallery spaces to trying to think of some other places that we've had that, but that's the kind of idea of these networking social events is getting people into the town to actually experience it. And once they're done having drinks with their fellow creative placemakers, they get to go and explore the city itself, which is kind of ideal. So it should be located within a 45-minute drive or public transit ride from a major airport. That's really, really critical. What we're finding is some smaller towns and cities that don't have major airports accessible to them make it really expensive for certain people to attend. And so it's really important to make this as accessible as possible to as many people as possible. The host city should sponsor, again, that welcome reception on the first evening with local entertainment, light food, and an art-centric meeting venue. This is kind of what I was talking about before about that social event. We do hope that host committee, whoever that might be, and I'll explain what that looks like in a little bit, would help sort of welcome everyone to the town with this sort of venue and hopefully finding sponsorships to help cover the costs of a party like that would be really ideal. The place itself, I think this is a little out of order, but that's okay. The space itself, the venue, should have space for exhibit tables. We look today into potentially finding, playground equipment and things like that for attendees to kind of play on and have a good time while they're there. And so that's really important for us is to, continue to network with people who are interested in sponsoring our summits. And sharing their ideas and tools and techniques with fellow creative placemakers. Excuse me while I drink water. I'm talking so much, oh my goodness. Next, we're gonna get to the host committee itself. So this is gonna be a collection of, a team of anywhere between, 5 and 10 individuals or organizations preferably in the city itself where the event will take place. They're responsible for securing sponsorships of about $5,000. This can be in-kind donations if they find a photographer or You know, we had Blue Moon sponsor one of our events in Denver, which was really exciting, and they donated beer and cider and stuff like that. And so that's just helpful for us so that we can kind of offset the cost of the social event. And again, the point of most of this is to keep costs down as much as possible for our summits. We charge between $200 and $300 for a summit, for a 3-day summit, which is really, really cheap. For some people, it's really expensive for other people, though. And so we do try to keep the cost down so that we can get as many artists and community members and other people who don't always get a chance to have their voice at the table to come to these. So any kind of sponsorships locally is really, really helpful. We'd like help generating registration within local networks. Again, having local people at the table is so important. And so getting the word out on a local level for artists, local officials, et cetera, to be there is really important to us. Helping to generate our field workshops and being responsible for transportation of summits participants to and from these locations. This is a little more of a specific ask, but again, those field workshops are really important for us, for people to go and explore the city that the summit's taking place, and to really help build it using creative placemaking techniques. And so helping us sort of find different people and venues and locations and voices at the table to make these really rich post-summit experiences for people. Which can only benefit your city as well, right? Getting people to get to explore and have a good time looking around the city and its arts district or what have you. And finally, having 2 to 3 people to be go-to people as a representative of the host community. That's super important. We need people, while it's great to have 10 people on a team, it's really great to have a go-to person saying, hey, would you mind getting in touch with the mayor, or did you get in touch with your CVP yet? All those great things. And finally, we have recommended items for the host committee and host venue of identifying potential financial and in-kind sponsors. In addition to that, we've had great local support to a lot of our summits. Off the top of my head, I'm having a hard time thinking. The Lyndhurst Foundation near Chattanooga was really pivotal in helping make that such a success in terms of giving a sponsorship. So being able to help us find people and foundations and arts sponsors and things like that in the local and regional areas to help us really support this summit to keep the costs down for the registrants. Helping schedule just for fun events for participants to get to know the city, like a fun run or a power walk or bird watching or something. If people like to get up early or stay up late, that's always helpful to get people to have a really good time in that city and maybe even stay after. I personally love booking an extra night in the city to explore it and see what it has to offer. Providing materials about the town and encouraging people to stay, like I just said, and also providing some kind of welcome bag or gifts. In Chattanooga, they're famous for moon pies, which are, I guess, like graham crackers and marshmallows and chocolate covered in it, and they put one in every single bag that we handed out, which was really nice of them, which is a fun little gift to make people feel welcomed and at home. Excuse me, my throat is really dry today. So what we're going to go into next, I have to cancel out of this. Excuse me while I go into here. Okay. And do we get to see this new website here? Does this look, everyone sees the website? And can you see my cursor at all? Great. See, I have one person chatting saying, yes, great. Thank you, Susan, for that feedback. So this website is really critical to all your resources of where you're going to want to go for the host RFP. And so this website is cplsummit.org. Again, that's cplsummit.org. That's Creative Placemaking Leadership Summit.org. And basically, here's a bunch of different things that you can look for. There's going to be registration for the national summit's going to be on here. There's a recap page with a bunch of photos and videos from previous summits if you're interested in seeing what we did, along with the programs and speakers and who came to those. We have a sponsorship page if you're interested or you know someone who's interested in sponsoring us. We'd be more than happy to get connected with you. We have our online forum community, which is great. But the one thing that you all are interested in is this Get Involved tab right here. Also, it's very handy right here is there's a host a summit, be on a planning team, learn more. All of that's right here for you. So either get involved or learn more, either one will take you to the same website. So here on the Get Involved page, you can either scroll down, and what you can see here is sort of what I was talking about before, all the different regional summits for next year, which we're really excited about. And you'll also note here that the time of year that we're thinking of having all of them. here underneath of it's not what this webinar is about, although I guess I might as well plug it. We're taking applications currently for our planning teams, and we'd love for everyone on this call to consider, or some of you on this call are already, excuse me, on those planning teams as well. And just to briefly go over what those may be, executive producers currently, that is NCCP, the organization I'm representing, Art Place America, and Looking Glass Creative are logistical experts on event planning. So we're overlooking all the summits themselves. We have what we're calling regional producers, which are key to sort of, what's it called? They're key to sort of organizing the planning team and getting regional sponsorships, in addition to helping to choose the summits and their locations themselves. And we usually have one person. For an example, in the Southeast, we have South Arts is our regional producer, which is a wonderful partner of ours. Here's one that you all may be interested in or all are already, goodness, that's hard to say, a part of. It's our regional planning committee, and these folks help choose the content for the summit. They help spread the word about the summit, get certain people represented at the summit, and kind of approve on user experience and things like that. And so if you're interested in doing that, we do have a quick application. You're almost guaranteed to get in. I shouldn't say that, but it's very easy to be a part of that. And we'd be more than happy to get your voice at the table. And then we have here, of course, that local host committee that we were talking about. And this depends on the locations that are chosen. But if you're interested to see more about that, there's more information on this website. So finally, the summit cities, and that's sort of these host cities that we're talking about. You can learn more here about the summits and the requirements. That's where this, if you hover here, you can see all that information that was in that slideshow is on this website right here. But what's most important is what you're going to want to do in this yellow button here called application. You're going to click on that. And I think there's another couple links on that page that'll kind of hyperlink you to that really quickly. And so really briefly, I'm just going to go through this application. It may seem a little tedious, so I do apologize. But I think it's important just to kind of go through what we're actually looking for through this application process. This here, again, is sort of redundant information about the requirements, what the host committee, the recommended things. This is all what I had in my PowerPoint previously, so if you're on the phone and missed it, all that information is on our website, which will link you to our application, which is a SurveyMonkey survey, essentially. If you scroll down a little more, what you're going to find is the map again. And then you're going to see which location you're applying to represent. You'll notice here that the southeastern region is not represented. It's because we're actually already choosing our location based on our regional producers' needs and wants. So if you're interested in being a part of that discussion, you're more than welcome to talk to me afterwards. But we are not desperately, I shouldn't say that. We are currently looking for, well, I guess a little bit desperately, but we're really excited to be looking for a Western Pacific, Midwest, Northeast and National Summit, which we're really excited about. I saw Angie's excited about the Midwest, which is great. I'm from Chicago, so I'm personally excited that we're going out to the Midwest this year. It's part of going back to my roots. So, so after choosing one of these, next you'll go, basically the requirements for that are, if your city is located on this map, that's the region you should be applying for. The exception to that rule, I suppose, is if you're applying to be a part of our national summit, we're accepting any city in the country to do that, to be the host for our national summit, although we recommend it being at a very accessible international airport, something that's pretty cheap for people to fly to. That's really critical. Because we do hope to get as much representation from across the country as possible. So this, again, very simple. Which city or state, which town or city are you proposing to host? We can describe the venue location. So for example, in Chattanooga, we hosted the summit at the Chattanoogan Hotel. So just kind of going first, second, third choice of where you think this actually might take place. And the requirements for that, again, are above. But if you think about a convention center or a hotel or a cool aquarium or something that you think is great, throw those ideas up there and we can kind of take a look at that. Obviously, that requires a little more closer look at contracts and things like that. But sort of the dream, what would be a great place to host this within that city itself? Then we get some more interesting questions here about like, describe how arts and cultural programming have positively influenced the proposed town or city. And this is really important because we believe strongly that these locations should be good case studies and role models for creative placemaking itself. And that's anything from, there's an arts district in the town, or things are really cooking up, or, there's some great museums in town, or there's great murals. Whatever that might be, that creative placemaking has positively influenced the town, it's a really great place that people can come to and learn from, which is really important for those field workshops and other things like that. And also our plenary discussions. We believe that those can be influenced by local examples. How can this summit positively impact your town or city? Oops, I'm getting one quick chat. How many words for section 4? That's a great question, Sherry. I don't know off the top of my head. I think it might be, I don't know. I will find out and I'll get back to you about that. I'm sorry, I don't remember off the top of my head. I probably should put that in there though, shouldn't I? I'll make a note of that before I forget. I'll add word counts to the doc, to the survey itself. Thank you for bringing that up, Sherry. How can the summit positively impact your town itself? Oh, and hi, Christina. I see that you're here as well. It's good to see that you're on the call. How can the summit positively impact your town or city? And this is what's really important to us as well, is not only should the summits be good for the people, not only should the town be good for the people who are attending the summit, but the summit should be good for the town itself or the city itself. And so how can all of these creative placemakers come in and really help impact the city that you're asking to host it, right? So that would be, that's interesting for us to know as well, is what's in it for you, right? In the most positive way possible. What connections and people are you hoping to draw through these summits, right? Is there something that's lacking in your city that you wish you had more of? Are there questions that are yet to be answered that maybe these summits can help you answer? And that's also really important to us as well. Here's a question here, is name and briefly describe 3 to 4 potential organizations or partners that you might want to be a part of your host committee and or sponsoring the summit. So whether that's yourself, that can be one of them, and a couple other organizations like the CVB, or you happen to know that, I don't know, the public health officials in town are really interested in creative placemaking and how walkable cities can impact a town's health or something, right? If those people are really interested in the summit and helping plan, that would be really great. The only requirements, again, of those people are above, but the group should be willing to meet regularly and have a good positive attitude towards the summit itself. They should organize. They should be organizations that should be connected to local funders and resources such as photographers, social event venues, entertainment, and local funders. And these people should have a flair for fun and get excited about connecting people to the host city, and good stewards of the city itself would be great. The primary contact information, this seems silly to harp on, but it's really important for us to have one point of contact for this survey. And so that person should be, pretty on top of answering emails and have time to actually go through some of this process and maybe go through an interview or two and talk just a little bit more about the town. So that person's relatively important. So just deciding on who that person might be. And finally, other content. If you want to put, links to some media or I don't know, whatever else you think is important for us to see. If there's a video about the town or something, or maybe cool. What would be really great is creative placemaking projects that are happening in the town itself. That would be really cool to see because we're this little nonprofit in New Jersey, and we're as traveled as we can be, but we haven't been everywhere. So we'd love to see more about that. I think this is everything on my end. What I'm going to do is stop screen sharing here. I'm going to come back to me. Hello again. I guess right now what we can do is open it up to general questions. I'm happy to answer anything. And if you can't think of anything now, I'm happy to send my contact information in addition to the manuscript and video after this to anyone who is interested in talking a little bit more about what this looks like. So any questions from anyone? Very quiet. Oh, someone's typing. 1 second. Do you think the question came from Angie is, do you think the Midwest will have a similar attendance even though it's new? It's a really good question. Thanks, Angie. Short answer is yeah, I think so. So what we're finding a lot is, so all the summits that we had this year, except for the Northeastern Corridor, were brand new. And I will say, so we had, this was I think the third or fourth year in a row that we've had a summit in New Jersey. It started as smaller knowledge exchanges and things. And what we're finding is actually it had the fewest attendees this year out of all of them in New Jersey. And that may be from what we're calling like summit fatigue, maybe. We're thinking about how to go outside of New Jersey and sort of embrace other parts of the Northeast. But the biggest attendees that we had this year were folks from small rural communities. Chattanooga, we were fighting people off with a stick at the door. It was 350 people. We had a waiting list of almost 100 people. The fire marshal was going to lock us down if we let anybody else in the room. Charleston in our Appalachian region was super, super popular. It was really, really exciting. So especially in places like the Midwest where there's a lot of rural and small towns, I believe it could be really, really popular. It depends on the arts agencies and who has more connections to different organizations and artists. But yeah, absolutely. I'm personally really excited about the feedback, and we're already getting people really excited from Wisconsin and Minnesota and Ohio and Chicago and things like that, which is great. Sherry asked, does it have to be in the same facility? What if it's parts in a nearby space? It's a great question, Sherry. It does not have to be in one facility, although what we found, we've done one or two on like sort of a campus feel, and it tends to feel a little bit unorganized. It feels like you're not kind of a part of a one retreat. That's why we like the hotel thing, is you can come out of your room and you're just sort of living where you're learning, which is kind of fun for people. And it helps kind of create, sort of a headspace for folks. We had one at Drew University this year in New Jersey, and it was, and the folks there, there was one building that was even like a 3-minute walk away, and you saw the attendance of the workshops in that building drop significantly despite the content. And so we found that people, even though it's not that far, they're a little bit nervous to walk. So I'd be a little hesitant. I'd try to find something that's a little bit more local if it's possible. But who knows? If it seems like a cool idea, we can always work with it. We're pretty flexible with that. In addition to funding, is the additional funding only for local events? Carol, thank you for asking that. Not necessarily. We're always looking for local funding and support, primarily because this year we're starting to build sort of a database of funders for creative placemaking projects. And so what's really valuable to us is not only helping us subsidize cost and for scholarships and things like that for folks who can afford to come to these things, like artists and certain underprivileged people. And so what we can see is that any kind of local support is really important. And what's great for them is that we're going to start to build this database of local funding and saying, hey, if you live in the Midwest and you're trying to do, creative placemaking, here's another person on the list that would really, really, help support you in that venture. So funding is not only just for beer and entertainment, it's definitely for projects, but more specifically to help subsidize cost of the event and bring as many voices to the table as possible. Thank you for asking that. Sherry asks, what's the attendance number we should expect in the Mountain West? Yeah, great question. I don't know. Last year we had, I think, just about 200 people in Denver, which was great. Hopefully we can get more than that in the door. What we're planning on doing to sort of better advertise these summits next year is honing in on basically one topic, very broad topic, right? Like change we're doing in DC, or home, or like loss or time, right? Like big topics like that, but can kind of hone in just a little bit more so that over the course of the year, you're going to find these different topics that are happening that people maybe or may not be excited about. And so hopefully we pick something that kind of tugs at people a little bit so that they get really excited and actually attend. And we're hoping that that rhythm of these summits can get people more excited. It's also the first time in the western part of the country. So hopefully now that people heard that last year was so successful, that we'll get even more next year. So I would say hopefully more than 200. That would be the guess. Probably between 200 and 300 people is my best guess, for sure. Another question from Sherry is, can we also set the theme? Would help would help with who to choose for partners? That's a great question. So right now we're actually, it's two separate conversations of where the host site will be, and also the planning committee itself. And so right now we have applications for a regional producer who will help choose the location itself. You're more than welcome to apply to help be a regional producer. The folks who are applying for that can absolutely be on the planning committee. And as I believe both you and Christina know, that you can absolutely have a voice at the table for that sort of thing. We do believe in a collaborative thing and having representation from every state at the table to help choose a theme or topic that will be sort of representative of the region itself for that particular year. But yeah, I believe that you absolutely can help choose the theme. I don't believe it's technically like you are setting the theme though. Carol asked, can you share a general cost to run the summit? I will need to know for my funding requests. Yeah, a summit, hard costs for a summit can range, my gosh, somewhere in the range of $40,000 to $50,000 just for venue, food, and beverage. It's amazing how much coffee costs for for conferences, AV, and things like that. That does not include NCCP's time or time of our event planners or anything like that. And so we're looking to get sponsorships and things like that to help offset some of the costs, and again make it more accessible to people to attend itself. Things like evening events and stuff like that can range anywhere, I would say about $5,000 to $10,000, depending on how extravagant you get. But it depends on the appetizers and, you know, if it's an open bar or what the venue is or what the entertainment is or what have you. Is Art Place partnering next year? Yes, they are. They're really excited about it. We just had a wonderful retreat with them on last Friday, I believe, a week ago almost. And we sat down and we said, how can we make these things better and more accessible and more engaging and have better outcomes? We have a lot of great ideas for next year that we're not quite ready to launch yet. But we have a lot of good ideas, especially about how to have these summits not only be a place of learning and connection, but also be impactful themselves, how these can be a change agent, not only in just getting ideas, but also, you know, kind of spurring real creative placemaking and projects from the summits themselves. So Our Place is really excited about that again. So yes, they are partnering with us. We're really excited about it. These are great questions. Thanks, everyone. I hope I'm answering them okay. Does anyone else have anything else? Oh, yes.
Can I throw just a question about the airport requirement? Like, how hard and fast is that rule? Is there any chance you guys would make an exception to that?
Great question. Yeah. I'm sorry, who's on the call? I didn't quite get that.
This is Greg. I'm Greg from Stevens Point, Wisconsin.
Oh, hi. How you doing? Yeah.
Good, how are you?
That's a great question. So Charleston was an example. I'm trying to think of examples of that. Charleston does not have a direct flight from, say, JFK and from San Francisco and things like that. It used to, but apparently these days, not as many people live there, and they kind of got, I don't know, demoted or whatever you call it. So that made it actually really tricky for people to get in, and we found that even with light weather problems, that folks had to cancel a lot of their trips because of delays and layovers and things like that. And we had some artists who had, you know, put up significant amount of money and they couldn't even make it because of the flight issues. So the short answer is no. The long answer is it depends. The biggest takeaway from that whole airport thing is accessibility to people in the region. So thinking about looking at that map and seeing all the states that region is serving and kind of thinking, is there a quick and relatively inexpensive way for folks from X state to get to Y city, right? And so that, we believe that's really important to us. Because we're asking not only, you know, yes, city officials and, well, not all city officials, but, you know, some state officials and organizations and, you know, designers and architects sometimes can afford to come to these places, but a lot of artists and community members that we want at the table are having a really hard time paying for this, even with the conference costs.
Sure.
So, yeah. But thank you for that.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else? Someone asked if I was open to bribery. No. Although I do like cake. No, I'm just kidding. Any other questions? These are great questions, by the way. It's helping me a lot understand what people are thinking, which is great. Going once, going twice. Well, great. This is all amazing. Thank you all so much for your time today. Again, I'd be more than happy to answer more questions via email or even phone call if you'd like. These applications, I believe, are due on August 17th. If they say on the 10th, it's a lie. We're extending it. So, or we will be extending it. I know that for a fact. So August 17th is the date. I know that's not a whole lot of a turnaround. It's about a month to find all these people and research and all that great stuff. So we're here to help you if you need anything or to answer questions or anything like that. I'd love to make a personal connection with you about what you're thinking rather than just getting a survey. So please feel free to email me. That'd be great to hear from everybody. And I believe that's going to be everything. What's my email address? Thank you. Yeah, absolutely. It's really long and complicated. I'm also going to send it an email, but it's T Young, as in Thomas Young, TYOUNG at artsbuildcommunities.com, ARTSBUILDCOMMUNITIES.com. I'm getting used to spelling that out loud. Great, thank you. And I'll send my other contact information as well, and it should be on our website somewhere. Again, that website is cplsummit.org for all that information that I went over today. We're also going to be posting this recording of the webinar as well as the manuscript for anyone who missed something or you want to take an extra note or you had any more questions about it. But in the meantime, I really, really look forward to hearing from all of you soon. I'm so happy to see so many great people on this call today, and we do hope to host the summit at your city. Hopefully, that would be really wonderful. So again, thank you all so much, and we hope to hear from you soon. Bye.